And for instance, I think we already Flip Claus is not the program anymore.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna work on, so, yeah.
And this is, I think, this database with the import is probably still gotta happen, correct?
Well, we've imported it to, Little Green Light.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, I think Little Green Light is who I'm gonna have handle the donations.
Mm-hmm.
I've already set up that account, and I'm gonna tell Flip Claus that I'm terminating that whenever the annual fee comes up again in October. But I also think that constant contact, I'm used to it for sending out stuff like this stuff that I sent out. So I think I'll hold on to both of those. Little Green Light is a lot cheaper than Flip Calls was in the first place.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's about half price. And the data that I've got on Flipcause, I've downloaded and uploaded all that info to LGL. But I think I'm still going to use Flipcause for the emails and notifications that I send out.
Okay. So you were able to import your social media stuff, contacts.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not necessarily so. I don't think social media will let you download your your fans, and I don't think they'll let you do that. Will they?
I don't know. I'm gonna look at that later on today.
I don't think they'll let, cause we're up to almost 9,500 followers now. And between the two, followers and likes, basically I call them fans, we're up to 16,000.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I will look at that later on today when get back home to see if you can download.
I
You
don't think
used to be able to, but that was a long time ago, and I bet they don't let you.
I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I mean, you can mark it on there.
Yeah.
You can mark it, you can boost, I could put up a fundraising thing on there
Mhm.
and boost it and use it that way, but I don't think they'll let you capture that fan base.
I'm pretty sure you're right, because they don't want you to have that.
No, they don't want you to
They
have
want
it.
you to have to go. But I have not used, for instance, Instagram cause marketing in a while, but I was looking recently at some of the ones where they'll $40 or $80 and they guarantee to reach so many local readers within whatever parameters.
Really?
Mhm.
Well, that certainly do.
And since your Instagram is so robust,
The Instagram is not.
Oh.
Instagram is about 1,200.
I mean,
It's
still pretty
Facebook.
robust.
It's
It's
And
not-
I haven't even tried on Instagram. So Insta for promos.
Yeah, and they are pretty, like I said, they are pretty inexpensive. You can start even, I think, as low as $40.
Yeah.
So you've got, okay. Oh, I think you're right about oh, Instagram is moving things around too. Great. But I will look today to see if you can download contacts. I'm pretty sure you cannot, but
I'm pretty sure you can't either.
I wonder if there's some other way to track who those folks are. But either way,
Well, I know who they are because you got stats.
Mhm.
Because let me pull up here. Okay, here we go. So this tells us our demographic of fans. Men 60.
International fans. You
Yeah.
have such a big following.
I know.
Interesting that it's so skewed towards men.
Yeah. And men in that 35 to 64 demographic.
The conventional wisdom, which, you gotta take with a grain of salt, is always that women are bigger givers, not in terms of the dollar amounts, but in terms of consistency. And that men tend to be a little more big gifts, and they tend to want more recognition for their gifts too, which I guess isn't totally surprising.
Right, right. So this was let's see, I think I did. And August 12th is when I
Okay.
did this graphic, but that's the story right there.
Mhm.
And that's so this is Facebook.
Okay.
And it would go down to more countries. That's just the top 10. But, and as I told you when we last met, that's because of Peter Abzug's
Mhm.
new wave music, which I would never have thought would be anything like that response to this. But, and I also remember telling you that this was, a whole new experience of that stuff going viral. But it's there, and I think by the end of the year, we'll have 10,000 followers and then probably 6,500 likes
Okay.
based on the progress that we've been making the last 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
So
That's
we can,
great.
so
And international. One of the questions, and I know it's been a little while since we've even gotten together, and I know that last time we talked, I believe we were talking about an event sometime in November.
yeah,
After
yeah.
the election, if I remember right.
Yeah, right.
And that's what, 2 months away already.
Well, I'm thinking, I think Virginia and I did a tentative. Let me pull up my calendar here. On the 24th of November 24th.
So the Sunday after Thanksgiving?
No, the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving's so late. You're
It's the
right.
28th, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And I think what I'll do is that week prior to that, all these selling points that I sent you,
Mhm.
I think I'm gonna ask people to, we could do a fundraiser that week before. Here's your check here. Don't get that mixed up in your paper. Yeah, so I think these selling points that AI has pointed out from this information,
Mhm.
I'll have them use these points at their, whatever appeals to them most.
So I'm just gonna pull this up real fast. So we are in September. So you're gonna do it the 24th.
Mhm.
It also means that the following Tuesday, the 3rd, is Giving Tuesday, December 3rd, which is the
Oh, it's
international.
December 3rd?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
always the
okay.
Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
So I would say if you had something before Thanksgiving with your friends and family, kind of your close in-person folks, and then
And make the broad appeal the
Mhm.
next week.
Yep. And you can we could do teasers throughout the month that kind of say, when you're gearing up for Black Friday, don't forget to put a little money aside for your favorite local nonprofit radio
Right,
station, things
yes.
like that.
Yeah,
I
yes,
mean,
yeah.
do you have an idea of a location, station, or?
I think we want to have people in the station again. That went really well. And, yeah, we'd have it at the station.
So maybe, how many people can you fit in there comfortably? 25?
I would say 25 to 30 because some people come and go.
True.
So it's 25 to 30. And so what I did was I've divided them up into 2 groups. And the people who are local who have been consistent givers, I've got them set up for that next event, along with, again, some of the show hosts who couldn't make it this time,
Mhm.
or I didn't invite them this time and I'll invite them next time. And but then we also had guests like your mother-in-law and this guy that's been building the deck for us in the backyard,
Mhm.
him and his girlfriend. And so it was just a good cross-section of people.
Good.
So yeah, so that it might not necessarily be all donors and all show hosts. We'll probably again invite other people. So, but I think 25, I think you could plan on 25 to 30 invitations.
Mhm.
And then, we had way too much food, as you,
Oh,
I know you identify with this. We always have way too much food for everything
Yeah.
because it's something in my DNA.
you gotta have more, the worst thing could happen is run out of food at an event, you know?
But yeah, so I think thank you for the feedback, because I didn't realize that
Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday.
Yeah. Oops, what did I just do there? Oh, thank you. I think my computer is on its last legs.
Oh, no.
Well, it's lived a good life. You know, what did I say, December 3rd, right? Not 5th. 3rd, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Event the previous Sunday. I want to get. So we need some messaging, a messaging plan for the whole month of November, really.
Mhm.
The other thing I was thinking about this morning before my medication was, are we'd also talked about appeal letters, either some sort of whether it could be it can be any electronic appeal as much as a written letter, but are you still thinking along the lines if you'd like to do that as well?
Well, so let's see how Giving Tuesday, have the party,
Mhm.
and a fundraising in that time period.
Mhm.
Let's appeal to those that didn't give.
Okay.
So, so we'll do it like that. If they
Okay.
didn't, we won't hit them up again if they've given, but
Okay.
if they haven't, then we'll send out a late November, early December request.
Okay.
So, we've got the party, Giving Thursday, fundraiser during the week, appeals to those that didn't attend.
And that is great. So I'm just sort of thinking for a second. So we're gonna have, that's a pretty robust plan. We need to get a messaging calendar together. Do you have the guest list? Do you have a pretty good idea who you want? Okay.
I've got that already kind of formulated.
How did you send the invitations out? By constant contact or okay. Contact, because you could, I think we can put don't, if you can't attend, donate here button kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. And it's basically under the heading of 10 years under new management.
A decade. So,
Of under new management.
say leadership.
All right.
Because I think you're a leader, not a manager. And you got to manage too, but leading is what you're doing. And we'll have a button for those who can't, if you can't attend, donate here. Sometimes places will do something like a kind of, it's a little bit cutesy on one hand, but it's also an easy way to get people who haven't given you anything in the past, like donate, for maybe a messaging for donors who have never given, donate $10 in honor of 10 years. Some people will just give $10, but a lot of people are going to look and be like, $10 is nothing. I need to give a little more. And we can do something along that too, of 10 years of service or of new vision and local. Okay. Virginia's going to help with the party again.
Yeah, she did great. I mean,
That's what Todd
she
said.
did all the legwork.
He said it was great. He said that you had good food, good attendance. He was like, it's cozy, that you got to talk to everybody. Did you do wine and?
We did
beer?
wine, we had some champagne for some people
Oh,
if they wanted
nice,
it.
okay. Oh, that
We
would
had
be fun.
Martinelli's for us non-drinkers.
Mhm.
And, and we've got 2 bottles of really expensive champagne that she's got a bottle from her wedding jobs of Moet Echendo.
Oh,
And
right.
so we've got 2 of those bottles for the November
Oh,
25th
fun.
event.
Okay, that sounds
So
fun.
I hope you can come and get some good champagne.
I'm
Some
putting,
plain
that's why I'm putting it on my calendar already. Champagne toast.
Yeah,
Okay. Radio ship is not a word. So I think this little nugget right here is excellent because you have enough time to put together the party and decide who you want to invite. You have enough time, we have enough time to put together that messaging for if you can't come do these things. It will be post-election, so one way or another, we're all gonna be glad that's over.
aren't you relieved with the progress?
You know, when I first got the message that Biden had was stepping out, and before I realized that he had a plan, I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be in shambles with the Democrats fighting, 4 months. But I think Joe Biden is probably a bigger mastermind than we give him credit for, and I feel so enthusiastic about Kamala. And what was excellent is that our oldest kid is 20, so he's voting for the first time. And our youngest actually just turned 18. They're both voting. I gotta get Lucas registered to vote. But Felix had been like, man, Biden, he's too old. Blah. Well, him and his friends were excited about Kamala. And they were, they went from we will vote just because we have to we're enthusiastically voting.
That's a good sign.
I thought so too. I kind of think.
And I think you said about Biden being a mastermind, to plan on doing that at the tail end of the Republican convention, suck away all of the energy. I mean, that was a razor sharp,
Yeah.
surgically inserted it, and boy, did they just like, well, what the hell are we gonna do now? Well, this whole convention was against Biden, and now where is he? I mean, it was just great.
It was, like I said, I think he's a bigger master.
I think so. Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
And I laughed because I saw a picture where it was something where it was this group had ordered all these excuse my language, Joe Biden flags. And they're, okay, well, they had all those Joe Biden flags in the trash because now they're useless. And I was like, oh, it's too bad. Oh, it's waste all their money. But
yeah, it was great.
It made me very happy to see.
It was great.
And also Tim Walz.
I love him.
I do too. And
he's adorable.
Yeah, and I think that was
he's
also
like your
genius.
He's just like your favorite football coach, good guy uncle kind of role there.
I thought so too. And
it's great.
I like that when they tried to attack him on some things, like when they tried to call him Tampon Tim for about a week. It's hard to argue, there's not very many people who are going to be against those products being available in school bathrooms.
Right.
And I think they just keep stepping in the wrong pile of dogs.
Well, yeah, and I follow it all really closely. And then some alternate tech or alternate news, to kind of have kind of a cross section. And from what I know locally with the hard right, they're very divided here. They're always there, and so, and I think this is also happening big time with the nationals, because they're all in it for the power in the game. They're not in it for the good of the country. And they have no principles, and they have feet of clay. And sooner or later, they're going to be after each other for petty stuff. And so it's a group of people that are destined to sooner or later get against each other, because it happened locally too.
Yes, it's happening locally. I think it's happening a little bit presidentially, because I think Trump is. I don't think he's well anyway, and JD Vance is just not up to the task.
Well, and so the national, what I see is now the hard right, really hard right guys, because Trump slipped up the other day and said that he lost the election. They're pissed off about that.
Well, he also just said he's going to vote against the amendment for abortion in
Florida. And so now he's got those people pissed off and like, well, you pulled the rug out from under us. So there's those two factions
Mhm.
that are now like, what, why did we just, what's going on here? You're not our guy after
Right,
all.
and
Well, no, he
and
never was
he
your
never
guy.
was, right, he's gonna say whatever he has
Yeah.
to say, and
Yeah,
but
so,
it's just funny, but I think I've told you that my dad was a lifelong Republican and
yes,
all that,
yes.
and he's he's involved in the military world, he's involved in the maritime
Mhm.
world, and he was like, yeah, it's not the same anymore. Like 8 years ago, there were so many people, and now there's so many people in the military that are just like, he's insulted us too many
Well,
times.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that trick he pulled at Arlington,
Oh,
let me tell you, so my first husband was career military, and were you some career?
my dad was Coast Guard career.
When you start doing anything in Arlington, oh my
Yeah,
God.
you don't mess
Oh,
with
that's
that.
sacred ground.
Yeah.
And in my own life, I've come to understand deeply is don't cross a sacred line. You're gonna pay.
Yeah, it's not worth it. And for a party that acts like on paper, military and police and all those are walking on water, and then to see what they actually do in practice is hard
Yeah.
for,
Watch what they do, not what they say.
yeah.
So I am no longer cautiously optimistic. I'm actually optimistic.
I am too.
So, yeah, so this is a great plan.
I'm writing right now that I'm gonna write a couple of appeal letter drafts.
Okay.
And then you can tweak them, and I'll send them to you electronically. And thank you messaging as well.
All right, good.
And I'm sure we'll be talking again before the November, because
Yeah,
I think the other thing you want to think about is when you do that, when there's an ask at the event, do you want it to come from you? Do you want it to come from another board member? Do you want it to come from a DJ? And I can tell you that again, the conventional wisdom is that, the leader or the person who's actually an employee of the entity sets up the stage, and then the person who gets on the stage to ask is often a board chair or client or something along those lines. But there's lots of ways to make it happen, and because you're not talking about 700 people, you're talking about an intimate group that know and care about you. In this case, I might say you are the one to ask. You might have a DJ or another member stand with you in that.
Well, so we've appointed Virginia assistant manager. She's
Oh,
good on her
okay,
feet and
okay.
she could do it.
All right.
So I could do the kind of like this is what we've accomplished in these 10 years, like I
Mhm.
did with this, like I did a little, very short spiel,
Mhm.
but covering up, covering just, the great people that were in the room there.
Mhm.
There are people. These are great people. And then turn it over for Virginia to
Do that.
do an appeal.
Okay. And I'd say too that, I don't know if she's done this before, I recommend a practice run. Because you get a chance to,
And we could meet with her.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
we can meet with her.
because I think she could then, like I said, I don't know what her experience is, but no matter what, then she can think through what she would say naturally, and we can give some feedback
Yeah.
and tweak it, so it's.
Yeah,
like,
and she was at the art museum and attended and basically did a lot of their patron
Oh, so she's
things.
got that.
So she's got some background in
Okay,
this.
good.
She also has in college, she did some marketing stuff. So she's got some like a marketing minor. She went for a pastry chef, but at AB Tech. But she also has some marketing
Okay.
stuff. So she would be, so we could do a short spiel about where we are this 10 years and then turn it over her to the appeal.
Mm-hmm. And yep, and make it, and the other thing, I think we have had some messaging, and I will go back through my notes, but I think we had some messaging like, your gift of this much allows us to do these things. And I think something like that with a big ask, maybe $1,000 and down to 100, but 100, 500, something like that. I'm writing this down right now. I think about it. And the other thing I think is getting some testimonials from DJs or the people who love you. Like, for instance, I mean, granted, Todd is my husband, but I know he would happily, do a little thing both in his station and his podcast, but also just like a written piece, because that could be something you have coming out to, throughout November and December. I donate here, I volunteer here because, and
And what about, using the fact that we're on the radio having them do it there, do a little short.
I think that's a great idea.
So, and I think since we are a media company.
Yeah, you've got a captive audience in that regard.
Yeah. This is,
And
yeah, and so that's why I came up with these selling points here. And if they don't have like their own personal opinion, like you would say Todd had,
mhm,
then they could use this as, you know, why they're doing this.
mhm.
Why is the station special? Why you should support it? So yeah, so during that kind of fundraising month there,
Mhm.
maybe right after the election and or you know, starting on the 24th, we could have them record their own little short testimonials
Mhm.
and be playing that. And then
I wouldn't wait till after the 24th. I would do it like the day after the maybe 3 days after the election.
okay, all
Just
right.
mainly because what you want to do too is start getting people hearing about it and thinking about it.
Yeah, and if you have something where it runs all the time, then they ignore it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be, this is the event, and this is when you need to be ponying up.
Mhm.
Yeah. So okay, so put that on that list that we start doing the promos at just a few days after the election, and if it's to the way it turns out we want to be.
Yeah.
Oh, what a relief! Now we can support the radio.
You can take a deep breath.
Yes, we've got another 4 years before we have to go through this shit
Oh
again.
my God. And that's the worst part is you're like, oh, these people need to just go.
Well, yeah, but the infighting is the issue. So that's why I have the most hope.
Me too. And I think that
They're not united.
they're
We're
not.
united on the side. And when we vote, we win.
It's true. And our side's about helping and protecting people. Their
Well, your
side
side is about fear and hate
and
and
taken
division.
away from most people.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so this is a good plan.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do when I get home is I'll type this up in a more calendar-like form or
Okay.
instructor this in.
Well, I
and-
think we got our plan formulated here.
And I'll work on some drafts.
Okay.
And then we can, whenever you want to, and practice, sit down
With
Virginia.
Virginia, yeah.
And you don't need to pay me for that practice session
Okay,
at all.
okay.
But just to give some feedback and to have her hone her message because, anytime you're public speaking, a little bit of practice is your friend.
And I think she can do it, but I'll check with her and see. And if not, if she's not comfortable with it, hell, I'll ask Todd to do it.
I will too. We'll both double. I mean, he's not at all, he's a good speaker and he, like I said,
But
I have said this, he doesn't donate to anybody
You
else
have to.
except you.
So did he tell you that, we were fortunate that the manager of the affiliate program for Pacifica was at my was visiting me. So she was at the party and she asked him, she specifically heard him because she was at my house, heard his show. And she's like, I think there's a way that they're trying to connect there.
I keep telling him.
I know.
He's got great guests.
It's the information.
Mhm.
So Marty Barron was at AB Tech 2 nights ago. Do you know who he is?
Mm-mm.
Right. So are you familiar with when the Boston Globe did the expose of the sexual predators of priests?
Yes.
He was the editor. And
Oh.
so did you ever see the movie Spotlight?
No.
All right. So Spotlight is about the Boston Globe's investigative reporting team who broke the systemic protection of priests by the Catholic Church.
Oh, wow.
He was the editor. And when he went in, if you see the movie, he went in and first of all, these very powerful people in Boston started telling him how, this is really, Boston is a special area and you don't go into certain things. And to him, that was a red flag. Anyway, he was in Asheville the other night. Asheville Watchdog brought him to Asheville. He is like, if there's a hero in the media world, he's number one. Mm. And he said, the thing that the media is supposed to do is educate your listeners or your readers with information where they can make a good decision
Mhm.
about the about who's electable. That's our job. It was great, but, so that's, in between the great music that we play, information like Todd has,
Mhm.
this gives people tools that they need.
Absolutely, and even though we're in 2024, the whole thinking still about mental illness in particular is
Yeah.
not very sophisticated,
No.
and getting people to understand the complexities and the resources.
And the resources. So it's, for me, it's one of the things that his show does is gives people resources. And somebody is going to hear that, it's gonna hit at just the right
Mhm.
time, and it's gonna help them get out
Well,
of something.
He didn't even mention the Pacific, because I recently was like, you should really start, because I remember you told me you thought that he could
Oh, yeah,
make it more, what is the word?
evergreen.
Thank you. And I think it's turning in the back of his head, and Todd's not, he's a pretty thoughtful person when he's making strategic decisions, but I think it's percolating back.
Well, so Ursula, she's the head of so there's over 200 stations in Pacifica's affiliate network. And what
Mhm.
we do is we upload our shows and programs, and we download shows from them.
Mhm.
So because that affiliate network, there's over 200 stations. So he puts that content content in to the files. Some of those other stations are gonna pick that up.
Yeah.
And so then it spreads out.
Well, I keep telling him that, he's got great gas too, and he
He's
really
got
can
great
bring
guests, and
people.
the information is so needed.
Mhm. And it's funny because of course, I'm very biased. I think he's fantastic, but he's a great conversationalist and he's a really good interviewer. And
Well, he's just an all-around great guy.
I agree. He's a keeper.
He's definitely a keeper.
He's a keeper. And
Yeah.
it's funny because he and I met at a wilderness program where he and I
Right.
worked.
Yes.
And
He told me, he gave me a little bit of early history one time when I had a meeting with him.
yeah, it's just interesting to see how he's taken all these things, and he's got a very good memory. Like, I can watch a movie and 5 years later be like, oh, did I see this movie? He can watch a movie and like quote it to you 5 years later. And so it's been interesting watching his growth and development. And I just said the same thing the other day. I was like, I think you need to make sure this is out to more people.
Yeah, and his mom told me that his dad was in radio.
Yes.
So it's in the gene.
Yes, and they both had that. Bill and Todd had this great voice, and but yeah, his dad was a broadcaster. Actually, my dad did independent college radio too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's doing a YouTube thing. So he's branching out a little bit. He's starting to do video of his interviews.
Yeah, I just
So-
looked at the most recent one. I didn't watch the whole thing because I didn't have time to, but yeah, like I said, I think he's got both the content and the packaging.
He's got the content and he has the wisdom of how to frame this.
Yes, that's true too. 'Cause he's
So
got
you
a
need
lot of
that.
experience.
Yeah, you need that. And it's got to come across as nurturing versus preachy. I've never ever had any kind of preachy message coming out. It's always been a nurturing kind of thing.
Well, I think because he knows that there's lots of different paths, and
Mhm.
what makes one better is not like the path itself,
Right.
but the person who's on
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
anyway, we don't need to talk about Todd.
But-
But that said,
But so if Virginia, for some reason, if she's reticent, we'll ask him.
okay, that sounds good.
Because he's in the thick of it and he knows he knows the value.
And he knows what you're trying to accomplish, and
Yeah.
he's on board for it. And like I said, he does not donate anywhere else regularly. I mean, he donates to wherever I happen to work at,
Mhm.
and some other causes, but he doesn't, when he told me I donate monthly and I have for however long.
Ever since he started.
And that's saying a lot, because like I said, he does not do that because he's very thoughtful about certain things. That said, I think this is going to be really
great plan.
exciting. And I think, I looked through I can see how, I always love reading AI things. It's always so interesting how it words stuff. I have written some notes and I'll send some edits, my thoughts in email.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that AI's synopsis is the be all end all
But
because,
it's-
you know, it might, but
not
it's a
bad.
start.
Yeah, it's
But
not bad.
bad.
And it also helps, just looking at things like the structuring of your sentencing and also
Yes.
repeated words. So,
Yes.
I think that, are you affiliated in any capacity with the Asheville Watchdog?
I support them.
Because I wonder too, as if you get closer to having somebody, maybe John Boyle or Sally Kestner, I don't know who, but come out to the celebration too. Because I feel like that's the only news, like written news outlet I go to every day is Asheville Watchdog. I don't go to the Citizen Times or BPR or Mountain Express. I might on a weekly or a couple weeks, but the other reason I like them, I don't know if that's even ethically what they would do. I don't really know much about that part, but if you got somebody in who came in and did, like a great story, John Boyle came in, did, I went to this thing and celebrated 10 years of this leadership, and this is the kind of radio station. It may not be something in it to.
Well, I had him on, so they did a downtown story on the issues downtown, so I had him on. Plus, I mean, he knows our history. He wrote when we won the defamation lawsuit, he wrote the story for Citizen Times, so he knows our history. But I mean, we could certainly invite him.
I mean,
So part of this is sending out press release.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a press release that we would send to Asheville Watchdog
Okay.
and see if they wanted to pick up on local media's local media's progress on radio, basically.
I mean, that's a good idea. And I think if, I just also noticed that John Boyle in particular, when you go look at one of his articles, whether it's a silly one or a serious one, the comments on there's far more comments than you see almost on any other.
On all the other
It's all
ones.
local people.
Yeah, because they know John. He's been around
Mhm.
for a long time. And so we're on good terms with them. I've been sponsored, I have a subscription with them. And John knows the history. John's been on the air with us.
Mhm.
And plus Bob Grimmelin, I think that's how you pronounce it, the founder with Sally and Bob Grimmelin. He and I both had endured time in New Orleans together. So
okay, you guys are
been in the trenches together. Because when I was at the event the other night, he's like, "Hey, Davine, glad to see you. Glad you came." So we're on good terms.
Okay. I just think that could be another way to get a little messaging out in a organic fashion.
Yeah, and so we need to do a great little press release story.
Mm-hmm.
So not too long, but compelling.
Mm-hmm. Because I think you have both that international presence, but the thing is, it still is at the heart of Asheville.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's icing on the cake, basically, is what I think of it as. It makes us look really good if someone actually goes and looks at our statistics. But a lot of that is international because of basically it's about new wave music, but still those numbers look good on paper.
Mm-hmm. They look great on paper. Well, it makes you have a bigger, it's easy not to think about how far the scope of something can be, and that's very telling. But I mean, it's the beauty of the internet.
Well, and that was the other thing that Marty Barron brought up the other night, because he's written a book, Collusion of Power, or Collision of Power. And Jeff Bezos bought Washington Post back in 2013. He was the editor then. And he said that the main thing that Bezos said, because they always considered them a local paper.
Washington, well, yeah.
And Bezos came in and said, you've got to get digital. And the thing about going digital is it's not going to cost you, like if you were to try to reach that many people with print media, it would be insurmountable.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that digital gets your story out around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of stations are not digital, they're still an analog thing.
Yeah.
And we've always, utilized digital and technology to our advantage. And like, for example, with Todd now doing YouTube stuff, you know, that's basically, it's the same path we've been on. You get your stuff out on all digital media, why just stick to the just the airwaves? Because we're 20 miles, we're 30 miles across town now that we have the antenna location changed, but you know, if you can reach larger audiences, why not?
Yeah,
Take
absolutely.
advantage of it.
Yeah, they're English speaking, they're gonna be
Yeah, yeah.
interested, you know, and
Yeah,
Um,
so for important, you know, local public affairs stuff, that's really local. But other stuff can, you know, appeal. I mean, Todd's show was out on the internet, somebody in Canada could hear it
Right.
and go like, well, there's no wonder I'm in bad shape. This is what I'm dealing with.
yeah,
I need some help here.
yeah. And there's so many interests that we can't categorize, we don't know until you find that sort of digital mouse comb trail, you know?
Yeah. And you know, you don't know where everything lands, what ears things land on. You just keep putting it out there.
Mhm. And the power of that right conversation or that
Mhm.
right moment in the car or on
Yeah.
your computer.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about this. Like I
Good.
said, I'll write this up more clearly and I'll pull up some of I know we had the letters that we'd done much earlier in this process and I'll pull those up. We can
Okay.
take a look and make sure they still seem
Appropriate. Okay.
And I'll work on blurbs. You know, you've got a really good start to all these blurbs, and AI, of course, is very helpful as always. We'll work on some messaging, like if you can't attend, here's a way to still help WPBM advance. You're gonna talk to Virginia. If Virginia doesn't want to do it, we'll talk to Todd. And the press releases, do you tend to do press releases on a regular basis?
No.
Okay, so this will.
We've not done
get
any
attention.
press
Oh, okay,
releases.
great, because honestly, some places do so many that they don't
No,
get picked up, but.
No, we don't do,
Okay.
not at all, not really.
Okay, good.
But, and I actually have a list of about 400 media addresses. So we can
Good,
send it
yeah.
out to all of them.
That's good, because again, you don't know.
Yeah,
Once.
one time, Carolina Public Press sent out an email with all their contacts on it.
Oh, gosh, I bet somebody, that's good. I bet somebody got in trouble for that.
And I captured that.
Yeah, I bet.
And put it in a file. So,
Well, that's, I think, I don't blame you, I would too. In fact, I think Todd sent me one not long ago, he'd gone to some golf event and the event organizers had sent an Excel spreadsheet of everyone's contact information. He just forwarded it right to me and we're like, well, we know they like golf, so.
yeah.
The other thing I was gonna ask you is, do you ever do any print advertising in the nonprofit edition of the Mountain Express?
So they did, I haven't done any advertising in it. I don't think. We did get an article in Capital Play because they have a nonprofit edition. We got a nice article out of that.
Okay.
But that was back in 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
But so do you think it's something that we should consider a press release and an ad?
I would definitely at least do the press release with the Mountain Express because depending on
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on. But I'll look at the ad rates. It comes out in November. I don't remember quite when. If I remember right, though, it's after the election. And I'll look at the.
Okay, yeah, I think that's good because it's our 10-year management. You know, they did a hit piece on us 10 years ago.
I remember.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, we're still here and we're not bad people.
Do you remember who was it that did the
It was Virginia Jaffron.
Is she still there?
No, she's been there. So what Mountain Express does is they have I guess, I don't know exactly what the executive editor or some sort of position that they bring these people in and they last about 3 or 4 years and then they change.
Okay.
And that's a pattern of theirs.
Well, I know I get their newsletter and it's always a different person's face every 3 months or so,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Well, the executive editor position is because whenever I first became aware of them, Nelda Holder was their executive editor. And then it was somebody else for another 3 or 4 years. Then it was Virginia for 3 or 4 years. And then she was gone, and I think they've gone through 2 more since then. So it's a pattern.
Makes sense. And it may not be worth the investment, but I'll find out what the rates are. They give a discounted rate to the nonprofits for this
Oh,
particular.
well, I think it's a good idea, and we'll probably do it.
Okay, and it won't happen for this year, but the other thing I was gonna say is that next year, they do their annual online giving campaign for nonprofits. It's called Give Local, and they'll pick 20 and you apply. They have them fitting into different categories. And what's nice about it is that it's intended to get the people who are gonna give little gifts, because if you give a total of $20 to one agency or all of them, you get like a little coupon book for a free cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Different, you can raise a couple thousand to many that, and a lot of times what's the best about it is it's people who've never heard of you before. They're on there for their animal group and they see you and say, oh, we'll send $10. So usually the applications come out in February or March.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
We got some time. And I bet if you buy an ad,
Yeah.
they'll probably send you the information.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
that said, I'll just, and we've, like, I've done it at every job I've been, it's 2025. And like I said, it's been as little as just a couple of $1,000, but the nice part is it's up from Giving Tuesday on, and then it just, you get a check sometime in February and you get all your donor information.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And like
yeah.
I said, a lot of times they just gave $5, but that can grow. And, they also say conventional wisdom is that people give at their first unsolicited first time gift is 10% of what they're capable of. So if somebody gives you $100 that you didn't really do much to get it, they probably can give you 1,000. But those little gifts add up too.
So we have several people who have given large donations, but they're not in the region. How do we get them to come to the party or come to the party in their mind even?
Well, how far away are they?
Well, one's in Hong Kong.
Oh, all right. So
around the country, basically around the country.
I wonder if we could do.
So let's think about that.
Okay, let me write this down. I'm starting to think about just that.
I mean, I'm gonna invite them because they're the larger donors this time. And, but probably most of them are not gonna be able to come.
Yeah,
So how do we address things?
Well, that might be if you can't attend, here's a way, and instead of having a $10 button, it's the messaging is the whatever their last gift was or more.
Yeah, good idea.
And the only other thing I think we talked about a couple months ago was the in honor of gifts or in memory of gifts. I wouldn't do much with the in memory at this point unless you have some, but the in honor of gifts, you have someone you want to honor in your lifetime, who's in your life, not your lifetime, with the gift of WPVM, could do something like that too. I'm just trying to larger who are not in the region.
If you don't follow media very much, you might not know this, but the trend for media is going to nonprofits like Asheville Watchdog and us. So that's kind of selling point. Now more than ever, you need to be supporting local media because of the changes that are going on and the trend towards media deserts and the trend towards national media and corporate media going the way of artificial intelligence instead of real intelligence.
It's funny, I had a conversation with a friend not long ago. We were talking about how we have gone so far into this sort of slick marketing constantly, and that people are exhausted by it.
Exactly.
They want authenticity.
Authenticity.
And
so the authenticity is the power. They want that.
They do. And I was thinking of last night, so today the Cherokee Nation started recreational marijuana sales, which is a big deal in a lot of ways. And WLS didn't have a story on it at all, which I thought was really interesting, but they're owned by Sinclair Broadcasting, who tends to be far right.
Right.
And I think that's the other piece, is that not only are there media deserts, but there's stories that, I don't know if that's.
Bias, yeah.
There's gaps.
Yes, really
Poor
strong gaps,
coverage.
yes.
And, we cover what matters to you. And I think that piece is something else, because, if I go to WLS, I don't really need to see that a kid in Indiana was killed with a screwdriver. I want to know what's happening right here in my community, beyond that I-26 is closed down again for the 50th time. So I think that's another selling point, is,
Yeah, that's a big selling point, is that we're your neighbors.
I think we have that in one of our messaging,
Yeah, we're
support your
neighbors.
neighborhood. Like, what was that in the 70s? Support your local Spider-Man kind of thing. Is kind of the same idea. So, what else do we need to cover? Like I said, I think I have a little
I
bit
think
of
we're good.
homework.
I think we're good.
And
I think we got it.
okay.
If I think of anything else, I'll add it, but I
Okay.
think this has been a good brainstorming.
I am too excited about this, and my first experience here in Asheville, I've been on other boards in Brevard, was that when the co-op was over there in West Asheville a long time ago. And
Is that
it's not a
French
co-op.
Broad?
No, the West Asheville Village Market now.
Oh,
It
yeah.
used to be a West Asheville co-op.
Okay.
And funny enough, Virginia Dollars, now at the Community Foundation, was the general manager, and she recruited me onto the board. And
Speaking of that, if you're familiar with Community Foundation, maybe you can help us go for our grant event. Because we would pay you.
Absolutely. I kind of think that there's a couple of different grants that they might be.
Yeah, we would pay you as a grant writer.
Just write that in too, because I just got done submitting some grants.
Okay, great. Yeah,
and
I have no grant writing stuff, but yeah, that's one thing we definitely would ask you to do.
Okay. It's funny, when I first started it, I ended up writing, the highest amount I've ever received is $350,000 for grant. Before that, I only had about $5,000 worth of experience, but turned out I could scale up. So let me put that in there too. Grant funding, because it's probably not just Community Foundation.
No, there's Z. Smith Reynolds. So Z. Smith Reynolds has been a donator to Mountain Area Information Network and WPVM since back in the 1990s. Okay. They were the ones that went to the board in 2011 and said, we're not going to give you any more grant money until you get rid of Wally Bowen as the executive director.
Wow. Okay. I'll look and see, because I know they've changed some of their funding strategies.
But there's also this whole trend towards nonprofit news and nonprofit media. There's starting to be large amounts of money about that.
I'll look at that
Knight
too.
Foundation, Knight Foundation, and Catherine D. MacArthur. And there's a couple of other ones actually not long ago that I saw that were more, that were in the Chicago region, but were nationally focused. So I'll look at that too. Yeah, and our strength for local stuff is we cover local political elections. That's one of the main things that we do, along with mental health stuff and other kind of public affairs programming.
I'll look at some of that too. I'll just tomorrow afternoon hunker down with a laptop.
And these are long-term ideas, so it doesn't have to be immediately, but definitely if you're capable of grant writing requests, we would definitely pay you for that.
Okay, I definitely have, like I said, I had 350,000 was the one time, but I've written a couple now that are about 200,000.
If we keep the station under 40,000, we have a portfolio that's doing really well. If we're gone, so we can handle what the station needs, but anything that we raise is icing on the cake, and it doesn't come out of our pockets. But the plan is that when I'm gone and Herb's gone, then our properties and art collections and everything gets sold, and all that goes into this trust fund that our attorney has, and then that pays 100,000 a year for a manager and the overhead.
Great.
So that's the plan.
Amazing. And then are you thinking of growing Virginia eventually to take up?
Yes, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
great.
absolutely, yeah, because you really have to think about succession, and she's young,
Mm-hmm,
and she's appealing to people.
mm-hmm.
So other people will come along because she's got that kind of personality. So yeah, she's a good asset.
Awesome. That's exciting to think about too. And one, that's wonderful because not many agencies have that, but the sort of legacy funding, but also have a young, enthusiastic, likable, talented person
Yeah,
leading.
and in touch with what the youngs are into, because you have to have that.
Absolutely, and especially because it's just as, baby boomers are aging out, and I think the oldest
Yeah,
Gen
yeah,
Xers.
you don't, a lot of our, so she was telling me, well, Davine, we've got mostly a bunch of old white men doing stuff for the station, and I said, yeah, that's true. And the pandemic changed things because we used to have a lot more younger people doing shows. But the pandemic changed things a lot. People are just having to survive. If you're young, you're having a mortgage. You've got kids you got to raise. You got educating them. You don't have time to do a free radio station, a radio show. And I mentioned in my speech or my little short clip to people at the station, in order to have people who can do a show, do it well, have some significant information to share, or passion or music or whatever, and be able to do it consistently year after year for free, these are rare people.
Yes, they're the golden unicorn.
Yeah, yeah. And so and you want your content to be excellent. You don't want it just because you need somebody there. You don't want mediocre stuff.
Right,
on air.
to fill the gap. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that everybody's gonna have to attend to, because volunteerism is down across the region, the nation, because of what you just said, and to be as much critiquing of the baby boomer generation as we all do. They kind of helped create a lot of what the nonprofit structures and the ways that people contribute outside of a church happen in this country. And
You had a tremendous thing happen when men came back from World War II, went to college. That had never happened before. That level of people getting higher education went on to create a huge economic boom, maybe an unsustainable boom, I'm not sure, but it totally changed the culture. And so that's what the baby boomers did. And also, what is happening now, according to what I've read, is the largest transfer of wealth ever in the world is going to be happening as baby boomers die off. Now I'm
You're silent generation, right?
Yeah, we're the greatest.
Okay,
I'm the greatest generation.
Yeah,
because I was born in 42, so we're supposedly the greatest because of World War II. But that transfer of wealth, maybe that'll help ease some of the pressures on the younger generations. But you've got 3 volunteer stations in Asheville, maybe 4 if you count. I don't know if Blue Ridge depends a lot on volunteers. I'm not sure they do. But you've got us, you've got Asheville FM, WWNC, and I think you've got the one downstairs, the WRES. So that's 4 volunteer stations in a small area. So yeah, so all of that. So we've got 27 good volunteers, and it's taken me 10 years to build up to those.
Well, hold them close to your heart, because they are, I mean, they make a lot of the difference, and
They
like I
do.
said,
They do.
a lot of the agencies are.
And they're special, and I want them to know that I know they're special.
And 27 core volunteers close to your cause and you is an amazing gift, because it's they'll be your champions in a way that you can't. Just like the digital messaging getting around the world, their messaging getting around the community. So I do think it's going to be interesting in the next 15 years as we see what you were saying with people transferring wealth, the loss of the group. The other thing that's a big deal is that folks being active and retired with the time to give, I'm Gen X. We're not looking at that same kind of retirement because we're not gonna be able to afford to. So we're
Really?
not gonna have the same,
You're not gonna have the free time that they've got over there at Ollie right now.
right, we're gonna be
Yes,
all still
people.
working until we're 79 years old to pay, to keep up with cost of living unless something dramatically shifts in our nation. So that's the other thing. I've been to too many of those sort of doom and gloom webinars and seminars, but it's still a real issue. And the other difference between the millennials and the Gen Z folks is they don't have this, they weren't raised in the same way to have that sort of civic responsibility concept in their head as much as people who are my generation and older are. So we all grew up with this idea that you give back. They didn't necessarily all give it. Some of them for sure did, but a lot of them did not. And you're
Well, so with Virginia, so she's got that strong sense of being a part of something that is significant to the community. You might be doing it as a volunteer. Hopefully, one day we would be paying her well to do it. But right now, in her mindset, she's very happy with the opportunity.
good.
So they're out there. They're just, again, these are rare people.
Yep. And you
This
got to
is
get in
rare
front of them
people.
at the right time when they have the time and the interest. And I'm sure she will be incredibly helpful in that regard because nothing like one passionate person talking to another one to
Right.
get them excited.
And yeah, and so, being out in the music world, because that's her thing, is that she actually got her ham license because she thought she could play music on shortwave radio. She thought she could be a DJ on shortwave radio.
That's it's funny only because I guess I grew up with ham radio being kind of like a trucker's
Yeah.
CB. But I could see why she might have thought that.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 30.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the flip side is with all these Gen Z, and she's probably either a baby millennial or older Gen Z. I don't know the exact timeline. But
Yeah, no.
that said, they want to hold on to something. So she might be able to bring you a whole new army.
Yeah, I think she'll be a draw.
I want to, and nothing, but one of the things I remember when I was doing at Habitat for Humanity, we did this multi-generational ways of giving. And one of the things that was really distinct with millennials is that they give to causes that their friend or their family member asked them to. They don't appreciate as much the appeals coming from the agency itself. We tend to look at those with a little bit of authority to give us directives, whereas millennials and younger generations don't look to institutions for that, which is, so it was really a lot about that, like the GoFundMe's and things like that, where you get your friend to help your other friend with cancer, or this dog that needs rescuing, because it's that person to person appeal. And that's why those are so successful, particularly with that younger age range. I don't know if it's all true, but
It's a trend.
it's a trend.
It's a trend. Well, we're not. I don't know if we're really fortunate to be in such unique times in the world, but we are. Here we are.
What is that saying? When you live in interesting times? Yeah,
Maybe let's live in interesting
we
times.
definitely are. I'm a little tired of the interesting. I'd like boring for a couple of months.
I'm exhausted.
I'm
exhausted.
I hope we have a blowout election, and we have a chance to be bored for a little while.
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
So you just recorded us talking about everything under the sun.
Yeah. I'll edit it out.